Joe, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Scott, good to see you as well, brother. How you doing? How you been? Butch, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Pure, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Jeff, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Lol Miles. I think you said Mike yet. No, don't worry about it. Call Tom Miles. What's up, you? Call Tom Miles. What's up, you? Kerry, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Even Miles and CMF. Free and Feather, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Monica, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? What's up, Miles? What's up, CMF? Let's go, Kerry. Hello, Miles. T, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Free and Feather, good evening. Good to see you as well, brother. How you been? How's things? Hello, Miles and family. Glenda, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Hi, Miles. Hope you're well. And all in the CMF. Let's go, Addy. Good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Morning, Miles and CMF. Shelly, good to see you as well. How you doing? Good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Hello, Miles. How you doing today? Scott, I'm doing great. How you doing, brother? How you been? How's things? Denise, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Good day, Miles. G, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Jeff, evening. How you doing? Let's go. So, let's do the intro and disclaimer essentially of tonight's live, and then we'll go straight into what we're going to be talking about. There's a few things to essentially discuss on tonight's live show. There's a lot of things that's happened in terms of the Senate, the Congress, and everything else essentially that has happened essentially today. We've had senators talk about the crypto space today. We've had governors talk about the crypto space today. A lot of things have happened, which we're going to discuss on tonight's live. But before we discuss any of those matters, I just want to say to everyone watching right now, welcome to the CMF Live. If you're watching this for the first time ever, this is CMF Live. It stands for Crypto Mouse Family. And on this live, I talk about the most recent news that's happening around the world in terms of cryptocurrencies, CBDCs, AI, politics, and regulations. Vital information pretty much for you to know about regarding what's happening around the world and how much we're going essentially towards this digital space. We also do Q&As on this live as well, which means if you do have any questions, put it down in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer the questions you may have. Now, the disclaimer of this live, as always, is not financial advice, not political advice, and whatever I say is only for entertainment purposes. And let's go through what we're going to be essentially talking about on tonight's live. We'll go through a gist of what we're going to be talking about. So here it is. On tonight's live, we're going to be talking about Congress essentially addressing the banking barriers for the crypto firms. We're also going to be discussing on tonight's live regarding the documentation that's been released from the FDIC, that there has been a lot of stifling when it comes to crypto and banking. We're also going to be talking about tonight's live regarding how the SEC has proposed a token relief for ICO projects. We're also going to go through the topic of Charles, the founder of Cardano, discussing matters of how we're actually going towards a massive bull run for the crypto space, a perspective from Cardano's founder. We're also going to be talking about the Bank of England on tonight's live as well. The Bank of England is thinking about doing rate cuts, according to some rumors. We're also going to be talking about on tonight's live regarding MicroStrategy, changing their name essentially just to Strategy and becoming a Bitcoin and AI firm instead. We're also going to go through the news topic of Algorand essentially seeking a role in the US government DOGE blockchain initiative on tonight's live. And we're going to be discussing matters of essentially BlackRock trying to launch a Bitcoin ETP in the European market space. And regarding other news topics like China and US, we're also going to discuss on tonight's live as well. Now, on yesterday's live, I discussed about China and the US and the whole tariff situation. We have some more news on the China and Russia, essentially on China and US situation that is impacting the market space still. We're also going to be talking about ACH, the crypto project Alibici Pay. They've just acquired another financial license. And we're going to be talking about Ripple on tonight's live as well, just like always, and more Ripple news towards the end of the live. So, mixture of news to essentially go through on tonight's live. And the first one we are going to be discussing is regarding Congress addressing essentially barriers for crypto firms. Now, Congress today had a sit down where they talked about, what is wrong with crypto space in terms of not being able to connect to the banking space and how much stifling there's been going on, how much corruption has been involved, of how and why these two organizations or departments cannot get along for some reason. And who is essentially the middleman who's stifling the banks and the crypto space from being able to connect together. Now, before we go through the first news, which is regarding Congress and the banking system, let's go inside the comment section first, and then we'll go straight into the first news. And I just want to say, just take a second to say thank you so much to everybody who's liking this live right now, because I'm getting notifications from X. Thanks so much to everyone who's liking this live, who's putting a comment outside the live, hashtagging the XRP on me outside the live. Thanks so much to also everyone who's retweeted this live on X. And thanks so much to everyone on YouTube who's watching right now, who's also liked the live and put a comment outside the live as well. So I'm getting a lot of notifications right now from X. So thank you so much to everyone that's doing that right now. So let's go inside the comment section first, and then we go straight into the first news, which is regarding Congress and the crypto space in terms of regulations, what's happening there. But let's go inside the comment section first. Dennis, good to see you as well, brother. How you doing? How you been? Stormy says, hi, Miles and CMF. Good to see you as well, Stormy. How you doing? Any thoughts on TIA, Core, TON, or XDC? XDC, incredible project, is definitely worth looking into. TON, incredible project as well. TIA and Core, I don't know what their reason is. I know TIA because I announced TIA when it was first launched regarding Celeste TIA, the AI project section and data section. But I don't know what their recent partnerships or contracts or licensings are. So I wouldn't be able to tell you in Core. I don't know what their recent licenses are either. But TON and XDC, incredible projects. Hello, Miles. Robin, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Scott, let's go. Hey, Miles. Hope you're well, bro. I'm doing great. Zach, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Hi, Miles. Pablo, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? How's things? Even Miles, even in CMF, what's up, everyone? Funky brother, good to see you as well. How you doing? How's things? Comatose, good to see you as well. How you doing? Hi, Miles on CMF. Even Miles and CMF. Manny, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Even Miles and family. Ian, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Good evening, Miles and CMF. Orphan, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? So let's go through the first news on tonight's live, which is regarding Congress essentially addressing the crypto barriers that are right now, that have been put in place from the previous administration. What barriers need to be lifted and what regulations essentially need to be put in place is what was discussed in Congress today. So here it is. The first week of congressional discussions focused on the financial services obstacles faced by cryptocurrency businesses. Reports suggest that policies branded as Operation Choke Point 2.0 are increasingly hindering crypto companies' ability to access banking services. Today, the Senate at 10 a.m., the Senate of Banking Committees convened its first hearings of what's really happening inside the crypto space and the banking world. Featuring notable participants like Brookings Institution Research Aaron and Arcridge Digital's CEO Nathan, the session essentially scrutinized the Biden administration's financial restrictions, suggesting that they were essentially politically motivated to hinder and stifle innovation when it comes to blockchain in the United States. So in the congressional hearing that happened today, essentially they bashed the Biden administration for not bringing enough innovation when it comes to blockchain inside the United States and for hindering that essentially growth in America when it really needs that. Essentially, America needs to be at the forefront of everything pretty much. And the Biden administration were pretty much trying to stifle its growth. The House of Financial Services Subcommittee also held discussions addressing the claims of limited banking access for crypto enterprises. Major voices such as Coinbase's chief legal officer Paul and the NYU professor Austin participate in analysis of the existing essentially financial policies. These hearings underscored a significant concern. The measures targeting the cryptocurrency industry are being viewed right now through a political lens, and some participants framed the issue as a part of a wider financial concern, while others asserted that the crypto firms are essentially being unfairly signaled, essentially handpicked and singled out completely. Various stakeholders shared differing perspectives on these financial restrictions. For instance, Logan Payne pointed out that the approach taken against digital asset firms reflects a unique methodology influenced by perceived risk. However, essentially Christian Smith reminded attendees that the increased media scrutiny could hinder what's essentially the crypto space is trying to bring to the United States. So there was a lot of, when it comes to the stifleness of cryptocurrencies and blockchain innovation inside the United States, it was two parties essentially that were doing the damage. One group of people were the media that were bashing cryptocurrencies as much as they could under the Biden administration, is what was discussed. And the other part was essentially FDIC stifling growth. And there was another third part, which was Gary Gensler from the SEC suing any crypto company. All these matters were discussed today by Congress of how these three groups of people and departments were essentially trying to stifle growth in the United States when it came to blockchain. Now, such practices, for example, the Senate Banking Committee chair stressed the importance of the treatment for all legal enterprises. Financial institutions and regulators are held accountable for their actions regarding crypto firms, and political strategies are deeply intertwined with the measures impacting the cryptocurrency sector. These discussions reveal the complexities surrounding essentially the financial services landscape for crypto companies and highlighted the ongoing debate over regulatory practices in this evolving market space. Now, out of all of this serious matter of the crypto space was stifled for 4 years, Biden's administration was suing crypto companies, not letting crypto companies work with banks, essentially through the FDIC, which we're also going to go through the FDIC documentations today on this live as well, and bullet points. But out of all of this seriousness and the entire meeting, the entire congressional, essentially, the entire congressional discussion titled for, on the subject of Choke Point 2.0, Operation Choke Point 2.0, all of it was related to cryptocurrencies. The meeting was related to cryptocurrencies. Now, the reason why I'm pointing this out is because there was another person on this panel, and her name is Elizabeth Warren. I'm guessing a lot of people have heard about Elizabeth Warren because Senator Elizabeth Warren doesn't like to answer questions in any sort of a way, and she tends to lie or answer a question with a question. So the reason why I'm pointing out that this was a congressional meeting just on the basis of crypto stifleness in the United States. So you would think that Senator Elizabeth Warren's opening statement would be about crypto stifleness inside the United States, because that is why the entire meeting is set up by Congress. But no, Senator Elizabeth Warren decided to go a different route on her opening statement and state things that have zero relevance to the title of the entire meeting. So here is Elizabeth Warren. So Senator Elizabeth Warren seemed to especially avoid mentioning crypto in her hearing address in terms of claims of US government entities pressured financial institutions into pausing or stopping services for digital firms. So Senator Elizabeth Warren didn't want to address any of those matters, with the US stifling SEC, Gary Gensler stifling crypto, FDIC stifling crypto with banks. She didn't want to talk about any of those things. Instead, she went on a different path with zero relevance in her opening statement. She said in the hearing on the debanking with the Senate Banking Committee, Senator Warren used her opening remarks as the ranking member to address thousands of complaints alleging that debanking for being rejected for being Muslim American and operating cannabis businesses. She questioned digital CEO co-founders because the meeting was about crypto. Coinbase's CLO was there. Co-founders of blockchain companies were there. Congress was there to discuss why banks don't give accounts to crypto companies, why banks don't want to work with crypto companies. That was the entire meeting about. There was no cannabis CEOs there. There was no Muslim, people that were rejected in America because they couldn't get bank accounts. The meeting was set up on why crypto companies couldn't work with banks because banks were being stifled by the FDIC. And crypto CEOs were at the meeting as well. And crypto co-founders were at the meeting. And her opening statement wasn't, banks were stifling crypto. Why is this? And, showing frustration. No. Her opening statement was she's angered that, banks were stifling Muslim Americans and cannabis businesses from getting bank accounts in the United States. She questioned digital co-founders and CEO Nathan, who's also a digital co-founder, about his experience and the brokering institutions regarding how consumer financial protection bureaus could stop unfair banking. She was telling co-founders of blockchain companies, why are banks rejecting cannabis businesses and Muslim Americans, which have zero relevance to the topic in question, which was only set up for crypto and banking. She was questioning co-founders of she was questioning Coinbase's lawyers on why American banks don't give bank accounts to Muslim Americans, or essentially don't give bank accounts to cannabis businesses. She said, I don't think for that second that you should be locked out of the banking system. She's addressing Muslim Americans and cannabis businesses in the United States by stating, "I don't think for a second that you should be locked out of the banking system," said Warren to a co-founder of a blockchain company. She said, "If banks are adopting policies that routinely debank people based on their beliefs or other illegitimate reasons, that's wrong. It needs to be stopped." So why didn't you mention crypto, Elizabeth Warren? Do you know how ridiculous this utterly sounds? It's like me attending essentially, a debate about cars. I attend a meeting and essentially the debate of Congress is about vehicles. And I go to the meeting and I go to the congressional event, and my opening statement is, why aren't cheeseburgers vegan? But I'm there because the topic that we're discussing essentially is, Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Audi. But my opening statement is, why are cheeseburgers not vegan? Or it was something more ridiculous than that, because it has no relevance to the topic. Not even once she mentioned crypto is being stifled by banks. She just went on and on about cannabis businesses to co-founders of blockchain companies. I mean, what utter morons voted her in? It's still confusing me. These are people that are elected. She was there for a blockchain committee by Congress. The topic they were discussing was banks and crypto, and she went there to discuss cannabis businesses and why Muslim Americans can't get bank accounts. Also, if you saw Elizabeth Warren today protesting about other matters, going against Elon Musk, that was funny too. But moving on and continuing on the same topic, but not Elizabeth Warren's topic, going back to crypto, the FDIC is what they were discussing in a congressional meeting. So the FDIC reveals key insights on crypto regulations and banking challenges. The FDIC is the department that was essentially stifling banks from working with crypto companies, something that they didn't want to discuss. Well, not they, Elizabeth Warren didn't want to discuss, because she's the one behind it. But the documents that were released is ridiculous. Because under the Biden administration, the FDIC only released about 20 documentations. And when the judge said the FDIC has to review more documents on if they are stifling banks from working with crypto companies, the FDIC said, we'll look into it. But they only released 20 documents. Well, today, they have made 175 public documents. They've revealed them of how they were stifling banks and pressuring banks to not work with crypto companies under the Biden administration. So the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporations, FDIC, has made public 175 documents related to its auditing process for banks involved in cryptocurrency activities. These documents were released before a court order deadline and essentially upcoming congressional hearing, highlighting the challenges faced by regulatory bodies in communicating and requesting information from banks. These documents were released right before the congressional meeting where Elizabeth Warren decided to talk about cannabis businesses. The released documents indicated significant delays in responding to continuous requests for additional information from banks, along essentially with institutions for halting activities issued by regulators, including essentially correspondence and records from previous pause letters sent up essentially by the FDIC to 24 institutions, showcasing its extended nature of these essential interactions. And if you don't know, essentially previously I revealed that the FDIC sent essentially roughly 24 to 20 emails and letters to banks to tell them to stop working with essentially crypto companies and to never work with crypto companies. And these obviously got revealed due to the Coinbase case. The congressional hearing essentially scheduled was to essentially address the banking practices and financial access issues. It will discuss how the FDIC prior auditing methods and practices may essentially have hindered banks and activities related to blockchain. The discussions aims to explore the impact of regulatory barriers on digital assets and initiatives within financial institutions. The FDIC plans to reevaluate its current auditing essentially approach and establish a more flexible regulatory framework for cryptocurrency activities. Obviously now under a Trump administration, the FDIC is being a lot more transparent because first of all, their chairman left the day Trump became president, and he resigned completely. The same day Gary Gensler resigned, so did the FDIC chairman, and so did the CFTC chairman. But because he's left now, there's no more stifling from the FDIC. Banks can work with crypto companies. Obviously, some regulations still need to be in place, but they can work with them. You know, essentially, it's no longer they're being stifled or told not to work with them. But by doing so, the FDIC seeks to foster industry development based on past feedback. The FDIC disclosure of these documents reflects a quest for transparency and accountability in auditing process. While the documents reveal the complexities of communication between banks and regulators, they also provide clues regarding the sector's future. These developments may contribute to reshaping essentially the regulatory landscape and concerning financial institutions and digital asset essentially endeavors. Now, the FDIC is emphasizing transparency and accountability in its auditing functions from now on, complete transparency. Communication hurdles between regulators and banks are evident in the released documents, where it showed that banks were trying to contact the FDIC. Can we work with this blockchain company? Can we work with that blockchain company? What can we not do? What lines should we not cross? And the FDIC decided to ignore the questions from the banks. They ignored what they're supposed to do for a living. And these were all revealed in the 175 documents that were made public today. Future regulatory changes may essentially significantly impact financial institutions' approach to digital assets. The release of these documents signifies a pivotal moment for regulatory bodies as they navigate essentially this untapped essentially market space and relationships between banking and cryptocurrencies. These insights are likely essentially to shape upcoming strategies for managing essentially digital assets in the financial domain. So we are actually moving ahead at much more faster rate than anybody could possibly imagine, where the FDIC essentially is trying to be a lot more transparent. Now they don't have, you know, their old chairman, who was a reflection of Gary Gensler being in charge of the FDIC. He resigned as well. But now that they don't have essentially a very cruel chairman, and they're being very transparent, they're revealing documentations, they're revealing how, you know, their departments did stifle crypto companies from working with banks. So if anybody ever thought, you know, Operation Choke Point 2.0 was just a mega conspiracy theory, you know, that there was no such thing as banks getting stifled and America was getting stifled and certain crypto projects weren't allowed to work with banks. All of that was not a conspiracy theory, and it was completely true due to the 175 documents that were made public today. It's all true. Operation Choke Point 2.0 was all real. All of it was real. Now, on that basis of how the FDIC showed full transparency today, and Congress had an entire essentially debate about it and how they can bring some more transparency to the table and more regulations to the table so banks can work with each other. The SEC at the same time decided to propose a token relief. Now, if you're wondering to yourself, what is a token relief? I'll tell you in 2 minutes, because first I want to go through the comment section. As I said previously, this is live, which means if you do have any questions, put it down inside the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer the questions you may have. So let's go inside the comment section first, and then we go straight into the next news, which is regarding the SEC introducing a new concept that is actually beneficial for the crypto space. So let's go inside the comment section first, and then we go straight into the next news regarding SEC and their new plans for the crypto space. Let's see where you are inside the comment section. And by the way, as I said previously, I read everybody's comments one by one. I read out your name, then your comment, and give you an answer, and I get through everyone's comments, believe it or not. So let's see where we were at. We were at here. Hi, Miles, the CMF. George, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Happy Pisces, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Good evening, Miles and CMF Talk. Good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Good evening, Miles. I heard you topics this speech tonight. You will be bombarding us with powerful news. Let's go, Cali, as always. Notice that XRP has done its third hammer. I don't understand this. Do you know what it means? Butch, which part of you referring to? Are you referring to the XRP Legend tense? I'm all good, but I hope you're well. What's up, brother? How are you, CMF? Billo, good to see you as well, brother. How you doing? How you Ben, how's things? Miles, when are they likely to see the markets get better again? When are we likely to see the markets get better again? Well, this whole situation of China and essentially the US needs to go away. And I said max, it shouldn't take more than 48 hours. It's been one day, today's the second day. I said if it goes beyond 48 hours, China's economy is going to go to a much more bigger crash than the 2008 situation because they have a massive real estate situation going on. So it shouldn't take more than 48 hours before we go on an upswing slightly. Elizabeth needs to go. I agree 100%. Maybe she caught sleepy syndrome. Maybe she did. Honestly, I couldn't believe, when I read Elizabeth Warren's opening statement at a crypto committee for Congress. Maybe Elizabeth Warren is suffering from sleep issues. Maybe she walked into a completely different place. Maybe she did. Miles, any words on the 1 hour XRP ledger glitch yesterday? Apparently it was something that was meant to happen, and the XRP ledger was able to amend itself. I mean, they did amend it essentially, but it was nothing that's alarming in any sort of a way at all. Trump needs to send Elizabeth to her retirement home honorably. I agree. Can the former chairman of the FDIC to be taken to court or held accountable for what he did? Is the former FDIC chairman going to be accountable for what he did inside the crypto space? Most cases, probably yes. Is he actually going to be held accountable? No. We don't know if Biden has pardoned him too as well. Biden pardoned the entire American government department. Everybody that was, guilty, Biden pretty much pardoned them. So we don't know if he's pardoned the pardon list as well. So we have to see what was the shutdown of the XRP ledger about. There's something to do with the XRP ledger in terms of their mandates. So it was nothing alarming in any sort of a way, and it has been fixed. Now, how the SEC is proposing a token relief might essentially impact crypto firms. So here is something that came out from the SEC today. The token relief that the SEC is talking about is ISO projects. So coin offering projects, in other words. The token relief and the coin offering relief measures proposed by the US Securities Exchange Commission, Commissioner Hester Pierce, will likely benefit crypto firms and projects with certain profiles. The attorneys told Cointelegraph today from the SEC that Attorney Franco, essentially, and senior advisor of Miller and Shiver said firms that conducted an initial coin offerings during the ICO boom of 2017 to 2018 have a strong argument for relief under the new proposal. Projects that exhibit strong utility use cases for their tokens or coins, as essentially opposed to purely speculative instruments with an investment focus, will also likely qualify for any potential reliefs there is. The attorney said if the SEC provides relief, it could essentially introduce clearer criteria distinguishing security tokens from true utility tokens instead. And for example, tokens issued primarily for access to a service or platform, or those structured to function more or like essentially digital goods rather than equity tokens. These include decentralized financial projects, layer 2 scaling solutions, and other crypto infrastructures that use tokens for governance and security. Custodians and centralized exchanges are also notable candidates for relief, the attorney told Cointelegraph. And Jafar, essentially the general counsel of the real-world asset tokenization platform Centrifuge, said the SEC has full authority to dismiss the lawsuits it brought against crypto firms for allegedly offering unregistered securities. So the topic of is the SEC going to be dismissing or settlement of these cases? Well, it turns out the SEC is leaning towards dismissing not just ICO crypto projects, but in general, any crypto project that has a utility, a purpose, is going to get dismissed or settled by the SEC. However, Jaffer said any potential release from the SEC would exclude firms and deemed to engage in fraud or misled investors during their essentially offerings. According to him, the SEC was unlikely to drop all of its litigations against crypto firms. The attorney added that if the SEC redefines the criteria for security offerings or adopts a new approach to interpreting essentially initial coin sales, then pending litigations will have a greater chance of being dropped. So, if the ISO essentially crypto projects get dropped because they have utility bases, then the actual crypto projects the actual crypto companies that are being sued by the SEC will get dropped pretty much instantly. Moreover, the SEC could decide not to offer retroactive reliefs to crypto firms at all and only focus on granting prospective relief instead, Jeffrey said. Now, Jeffrey is essentially a very prominent man in law, essentially, massive law firm, and he's came out of his perspectives because he's had some sort of discussions with SEC people, talking about how dismissal and settlements of cases are going to be happening. And it makes sense because the SEC essentially got rid of 50 commissioners. 50 lawyers were pretty much fired and sacked from the SEC yesterday, which means the SEC is not getting ready to sue any crypto companies. Also, another thing happened today, but we're going to leave that one to the end of the live. But Jafir is on the right tracks regarding what the SEC is thinking about doing, which is giving out some sort of a relief package to ICO crypto projects that have actual utility bases, XRP, and projects that have essentially fraud and allegations actually attached to them. They will never get dropped. So Ripple cases getting dropped 100%. 100%. It should be very soon as well. Now, moving on essentially from what Jeffrey and the discussions from the SEC they've had to Charles, the founder essentially of Cardano. The founder of Cardano has came out and said that this year is going to be a massive breakthrough for the crypto space. And he isn't lying, to be fairly honest. So here it is. Cardano's founder, Charles, has expressed optimism for the crypto market space in 2025. Despite the recent downturns that rocked the industry, in a post shared on X, Charles, the founder of Cardano, stated that 2025 would be a turning point for crypto, citing the market's swift recovery from recent crashes as a clear sign of its resilience. What he's referring to is the recent crash we had, which was the tariffs essentially on Canada and Mexico, which they caved. Canada and Mexico both caved pretty much. If Canada hasn't still caved, their businesses caved anyways. But the market essentially from the weekend going into the weekday, straight away 360 change. That is what essentially is talking about, how the market is staying resilient. Now, a significant essentially market crash resulted in billions of losses that activated thousands of traders' liquidations, totaling $710 billion and exceeding 740,000 liquidations. Now, within a 24-hour period, causing widespread investor essentially crashing, Charles observed how the market recovered rapidly from its major downturn, even though it essentially executed the impact of FTX and Lorna's failures. The downgrade of Bitcoin to as low as 91,000 briefly showed before Canada and US officials announced a pause on their trade tariffs. This declaration allowed Bitcoin to reach $100,000 once again, and other crypto projects followed in suit. Charles' optimism is further essentially supported by several bullish fundamentals that are expected to shape the future of crypto moving ahead. The involvement of David Sachs being one of them, the appointed crypto Caesar under Donald Trump, has stirred significant interest in the crypto space as well. Sachs's team is reportedly essentially evaluating the creation of a Bitcoin reserve or a crypto stockpile, a move that could play a crucial role in the stability and growth of digital assets in ecosystems. A US Securities Exchange Commission (SEC) task force that was established essentially overnight to deliver regulatory clarity for the crypto market space. The task force established by the SEC has set its sights on determining how federal security laws apply to digital assets and to investors and to the corporate sector. Ripple's CEO, for example, recently highlighted the essential role of clear legislations since it stands essentially as a critical factor for market expansions. The Genius Act bill, which Senator Bill Hagrid introduced, shows increasing national essentially interest in stablecoin regulations as a part of an improving essentially overall regulatory clarity. Charles maintains a positive prediction for 2025 despite the market downturns during the past year, because he sees a big potential for the entire blockchain industry in 2025. The crypto markets should undergo essentially a decisive advancements during the following years as it works through economic pressures alongside regulatory changes. Charles believes 2025 will be a transformative year for crypto despite recent market volatilities and setbacks. Following recent liquidations, the crypto markets showed resilience when they jumped back up straight over essentially on the Monday. And regulatory clarity on digital assets is expected to boost the market growth with key actions from figures like David Sachs and Brad. Now, this is a perspective essentially from Charles, the founder of Cardano, talking about valid points of why this year is going to be an incredible year. And he has still missed out a lot of other incredible things that have happened for the crypto space that are all positive, but they're all being overshadowed by the whole China situation that's going on right now, where China is trying to show both their temporary powers, where I was talking about yesterday's live. But he's not lying in any sort of a way. This year is absolutely going to be a year that nobody will ever forget regarding the blockchain space, regarding how much things have changed, how much things are moving at a much more rapid pace than they ever were before. This year is going to be all about regulations. It's going to be all about ETF spaces and the adoption that's going to be created within the banking system. Because as you all know, with the SAB 121 lifted and the FDIC chairman resigned on January 20th, this year is all going to be about institutional wave coming inside the crypto sector. The next clientele are going to be institutions. It's guaranteed. It's going to be institutions and banks in general. And that is essentially what Charles is trying to point out with the crypto task force that was created. Essentially, Brad talking about how a new SEC chairman is bringing in a lot more positivity to the crypto space. Trump coming in with his new administration being all pro-crypto. Congress having pro-crypto meetings and regulations being passed and regulations that were stifling the crypto space removed. Government departments are being transparent of how they were hindering growth in America. A lot of things have happened. And Charles is just pointing out the facts that people shouldn't forget. And one of the biggest being America becoming the capital of cryptocurrencies with an executive order from Trump, which is incredible. Now, moving on to essentially Bank of England, and moving off essentially from what Trump has stated and what Charles essentially has stated of what's going to be happening inside the United States, but moving on to the Bank of England in terms of interest rate cuts. So the Bank of England is going to apparently be cutting its interest rates to 4.5% as economic growth is not doing too well inside the UK right now. The UK is going through a time where Americans will essentially going through. So you know how the United States was going through the whole Biden administration situation for 4 years and nothing was happening, and America was just going more, digging deeper and deeper. Well, that's essentially what the rest of the world is still going through, because the rest of the world doesn't have somebody like Trump to fix their economy or fix their country. Unfortunately, we have our own prime ministers and presidents, and they're all not great at their job. In the UK, we wish we had Trump, I'll be honest. So the Bank of England has decided to cut its interest rates due to those factors because the UK is having zero growth. A report has revealed today from CNBC that the economists are betting on the Bank of England cutting interest rates by 25 basis points from 4.75% to 4.5%. And essentially the Thursday meeting coming up, the Thursday Monetary Policy Committee meeting that's coming up, they expect essential rate cuts come as the UK economy continues to not do that well, and with tax and wage hikes essentially hitting businesses and US President Donald Trump threatening to increase tariffs on global imports. The reports mention that 98% of economists believe that the Bank of England would cut rates on Thursday due to the United Kingdom not doing too well as an economy. Another retainers poll also suggested that 90% of investors are expected that the bank would cut their rates in the upcoming meeting. Most traders have also changed their speculation of a 2 rate cuts, essentially in 2025, to 3 rate cuts for essentially the United Kingdom. Lloyds Bank's CEO even weighed in on the matter. Charlie supported the speculations, mentioning that the bank would cut rates 3 times at least inside the United Kingdom. The Bank of England is definitely going to do 3 rate cuts, or they should be doing more. This is a perspective also from Lloyds Bank. UK inflation dropped from the forecasted 2.6% to 2.5% in December. Reports suggested that the drop in the inflation rate meant that the prices were still essentially rising, but at a slower rate for the economy. And the economy flatlined since in December. Now, Hargreaves Lansdowne, essentially Susan, mentioned that the highlighted conditions set the stage for rate cuts in the upcoming meeting. In August 2024, the UK central bank cut rates for the first time in 4 years, dropping bank borrowing rates from 5.25% to 5%. The Bank of England's Governor, Andrew Bailey, commented after the decision, saying that the rate cuts was finally balanced and essentially promised the bank would approach rate cuts with more caution moving forward. Bailey also further suggested that it was time for the country to put inflation behind it, and the Bank of England expected rate cuts will be the first rate cuts initiated since the committee's decision to hold the rate cuts in the December meeting. The 9 committee members made a near unanimous decision, with 6 members choosing to hold the rate cuts and 3 choosing to cut rates by 25 basis points. The decision revealed polls that expected only 1 member of the committee to vote for rate cuts in December. The committee chose essentially to hold on rate cuts, resulted from the stagnation of the economy. The UK economy did not move because we didn't do rate cuts, with the country's inflation hitting a essentially 8-month high right now. The Bank of England mentioned that the inflation spike was higher than its previous forecast, adding essentially that the bank service inflation had also spiked. The bank also highlighted its economic growth forecast was lower than essentially a 0.3% November forecast. And the split vote essentially among the Monetary Policy Committee led to speculations about the Bank of England and why it was so much essentially divided going on. Now, Edbury head of MicroStrategy Matthew Ryan highlighted the Drove's focus on the staggering essentially economy side of the United Kingdom and the Hawks' focus on gradual approach to rising inflation. Now, if you're wondering to yourself, what does the Bank of England have any sort of relevance to the crypto space and any sort of relevance if you live inside of a different country? Well, it does, because rate cuts are an indication that a traditional essentially economy is not doing too well, which means if we go through rate cuts as an indication that the UK's economy is not doing too well, which means people will hedge against that scenario, going to alternative assets, and essentially in this case will always be cryptocurrencies, or it could be gold or silver. But people do tend to go towards cryptocurrencies, especially businesses. So Governor Bailey said that the bank would still approach interest rates gradually. The governor added that the Bank of England could not commit to when the next rate cut would be or by what percentage. Bailey further highlighted essentially the growing uncertainty inside the markets and made it harder for the banks to outline how much it will cost in terms of rate cuts in 2025. Now, the bank is facing issues with President Trump's expected tariff hikes as well, which several economists believe essentially that could hinder Bailey's ability to cut rates or benefit the country. Economist Dan, for example, suggested that tariffs could lead to more imports from China and significantly dropping the current consumer price and affecting UK buyers. Another economist, also Anthony, still suggested that the current uncertainty could lead to economic stagnations and rising inflation, and suggested that the combination of 2 possibilities could hinder the growth, the governor's ability to cut rates. The economists further essentially suggested that any rash decisions by the central bank would be more detrimental for the entire economy. So the Bank of England is going to be doing 3 rate cuts this year. With each rate cut, it's a positive step for the crypto space, because each rate cut shows that the UK's economy is not doing too well, and that people need to, hedge against that scenario. People need to price in the rate cuts happening, and people need to go towards alternative assets. Alternative assets will tend to be crypto assets in this scenario, because they've always been crypto assets in this scenario, except in the past where they were gold and silver. But on those bases, the Bank of England doing rate cuts is excellent news. It's positive news we need. And on the basis of essentially the apologies everyone, on the basis also regarding the tariff situation, the UK apparently is not going to get tariffed. I mentioned this yesterday as well, just to mention again, the United Kingdom is apparently not going to get any sort of tariffs from Donald Trump at all. Apparently they've come to some sort of an understanding where there's not going to be any sort of tariffs, but the EU is going to receive tariffs. And I said previously, the EU has no choice but to cave into Trump's essentially plans, because the EU has no choice. Because if the EU decides to turn its back on the US, then the EU is going to struggle to get any sort of oil, pretty much. They can't get their oil from Russia because they're feeding billions of they're feeding billions of dollars into Ukraine, or millions of dollars into Ukraine, which means the EU cannot turn its back on the United States, because where they're going to get the oil or gas from and so on, and because they can't get it from Russia. So the EU has no choice but to stay friends with America, because they have no choice. They've been feeding the enemy so far. They've been feeding into Ukraine, so they can't go begging to Russia for essentially making some sort of trade deal. because Putin is not going to be accepting the EU in any sort of way, because they're feeding billions into Ukraine, and China is not going to become the EU's best friend either in any sort of way. So the EU knows this, and I said this before. But with every tariff situation, the market will become volatile. Every time a tariff situation will happen, the crypto markets will become volatile for max 48 hours. But so far, we've only got the China and America, essentially, tariff situation going on, which is what's causing this whole volatile stage inside the crypto space. And once this one's over, the EU volatile stage is going to start for a good 48 hours as well. And then whatever country's left, pretty much. But with every tariff situation, we're going to have 24 hours or 48 hours or 36 hours of market volatility inside the crypto space, and then it ends. Because no country can go past 48 hours. They just can't, because they won't be able to, essentially cope under the pressure, but the US can. So every tariff situation, if you hear on the news, America is going to put tariffs on the EU. The moment the tariffs happen, give it 48 hours. After 48 hours, the EU will cave. If they go beyond 48 hours, it's their funeral. I'll be very honest, it's definitely the EU's funeral or any country's funeral if they want to go beyond 48 hours. Now, MicroStrategy is what we're going to talk about next. So putting the Bank of England essentially aside, putting that, how the UK economy is not doing too great and the tariff situation aside, MicroStrategy is what we're going to talk about next. Now, before we talk about MicroStrategy, let's go inside the comment section first. As I said previously, this is live, which means if you do have any questions, put it down inside the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. So let's just go inside the comment section and we'll go straight into the MicroStrategy news. Let's see what's going on. We were at, by the way, as I said previously, I read everybody's comments one by one, so don't be shy if you do have a question. Hi, Miles and family. Alex, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? How's things? Orphan says one of the validators did something, and when there was something strange happening, like Soppy Ledger is set up to go on pause and essentially reset automatically. Yes, that's true. Hello, Miles and CMF. Carol, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? So, Sal, is it a meme coin? If it is, I could take a look at it for you. If you want to, put a message outside the live, and I'll take a look into it for you. Put a comment outside the live on YouTube because you're watching from YouTube, and then I'll reply back to your comments with perspective on that crypto project. Preferably, you always want to stick to legitimate projects, but if you want me to look into that, I'll take a look into it. UK is in complete mess, brother. Did you see last Saturday and Sunday protest against Keir Starmer? The people who elect him now protest full mess. Yeah, I agree 100%. The UK is definitely a big mess. Have you any thoughts on the tons of gold missing from the UK's gold reserves? Yes, I heard about this news where the UK is missing huge, and I mean huge amounts of gold. They're missing it completely. I don't know how you can misplace gold, especially tons of gold. Now, the UK is claiming that they essentially not misplaced, but the UK is essentially claiming that they've sent, a lot of gold to New York to, hold in New York vaults, which doesn't make any sense because the Bank of England also has vaults. So why would the UK not just hold the gold in their own vaults? But what I can say is, this whole Elon Musk department, DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. I really want a DOGE department inside the United Kingdom, and I think a DOGE department should be established in every government, because the amount of money, or in this case, the amount of gold, tons of gold, is misplaced. How do you misplace tons of gold? If people skip on their taxes in the United Kingdom, even by 1 pence or £1, if I misplace £1 from my taxes, the government will, essentially force me to pay that extra one. They'll force me to find that £1 that's missing from my taxes. But when the tables turn and they're missing tons of gold, nothing happens to them. It's the reason why I said every government needs to have some sort of a DOGE Department of Government Efficiency, because what Elon Musk is achieving inside the United States is incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And there's a lot of politicians, mainly the Democratic side politicians. And when I refer to Democrats, I don't mean the people who support Democrats. I don't mean in any sort of way that. When I refer to Democrats or Republicans, I'm referring to government people not regular people. So in this case, when I refer to Democrats, always when I refer to Democrats or Republicans, I'm referring to the politicians, not the retail section. So the Democratic politicians are essentially fuming of what Elon Musk is revealing. And they're saying, you know, this is against democracy and so on and so on and so on. But Elon Musk is revealing all of their misplacement of money. And somebody needs to do that in the UK as well. Somebody needs to do that in the UK. Somebody needs to do that in the EU. In every country should establish its own Department of Government Efficiency, because it needs to. Because how do you misplace tons of amounts of gold? Not 1 bar of gold or 2 bars of gold, tons of amount of gold. How do you misplace that? It just boggles my mind. And then they decided to lie about it and said, you know, we sent some to New York. Yeah, but where's the rest though? That's the question. So it really blows my mind that, you know, how do you do that? But if, you know, you skip on your taxes by $1, they'll force you to find that $1. But if they essentially misplace tons of gold, it's apparently okay. So regarding the UK gold situation, yes, I have heard about it, and it's the most dumbest thing I've ever heard. Miles, Americans are huge economy. America's huge economy boosts in the UK. They are incredible customers. Yes, the US essentially is definitely going to boost the UK's economy, especially now that Trump has announced that there's going to be no tariffs on the United Kingdom. So that's definitely going to slowly, you know, the US is going to be cooperating a lot with the UK, and you know, we should get those prices down inside the UK. We should have, you know, we should start to have a better economy, but we still need to find those tons of gold that are missing. But yeah, I agree, Kali. Regarding the UK and the US, I said this a long time ago that they stole the US's gold during 9/11. There were witnesses that said they were moving gold for days before 9/11. You know, I mean, I agree. Bush and Co. had that hat off. Yep, something's very fishy going on, mate. I agree, 100%. Exactly, Miles. Let's go, Stormy. Do they not issue an SKR each time the gold is kept? It should be traceable. Unfortunately, it's not traceable because somehow lorries, I'm guessing, came, picked up tons of gold, and they disappeared. It was like a magic show. Now, MicroStrategy. Elon Musk will sniff it out. I agree 100%. If there's ever going to be one person to sniff out the UK gold situation that's missing, it's going to be Elon Musk. This is why I'm saying we need a Department of Government Efficiency in every government around the world. It's the most intelligent idea that's ever came about. Making the government transparent, making the government accountable and showing transparency is the most genius idea ever. And Democratic politicians, not retail section, Democratic politicians are losing their minds because of all the transparency that's being shown to the people, of the amount of waste that's been happening inside the United States. Now, MicroStrategy essentially rebrands their company as Strategy. If you haven't heard about it, MicroStrategy decided to change their entire company name to just Strategy, and they became a Bitcoin and AI company moving forward now, and it's like, you know, all wrapped into one type of policy. So, MicroStrategy, the largest corporate holder of Bitcoin, announced a rebrand, essentially, of their shortening its name to Strategy to reflect its growing focus on digital assets. The company unveiled the new identity today ahead of its fourth quarter earnings report. By the way, MicroStrategy made a loss today on their pricing of their stocks. It went down by $3.80. The company described the change as a natural evolution Reflecting its core business, the new logo features a stylized bee, symbolizing its commitment to Bitcoin, and the brand's primary color is now orange, a nod to Bitcoin's branding and energy. Strategy holds roughly about 471,171 Bitcoins, valued at nearly $44 billion, making it the largest essentially corporate Bitcoin holder. It recently paused its 12-week buying streak on Bitcoin acquisitions. The founder and executive chairman, Michael Saylor, explained this decision in a statement, calling strategy one of the most powerful and positive words in language. Quoting essentially Anton de Saint, he described the rebrand as a refinement of the company's identity moving forward. The CEO, essentially Fu Li, highlighted the company's dual essentially focus on Bitcoin and artificial intelligence, calling them the two most transformative technologies of the 21st century. MicroStrategy made consistent Bitcoin acquisitions over the past 3 months, spending nearly $20 billion in that time. The company's market cap currently stands at $87.2 billion, reflecting a massive premium compared to its essentially net Bitcoin asset value. During a recent interview inside the investor meeting, Michael Saylor said that the company aims to offer investors returns and volatility at roughly 1.5 essentially times that of Bitcoin itself. MicroStrategy also launched its long-awaited convertible preferred stocks offering last week, opening up to institutional investors and select retail investors also. And the named STRK, the offering consists of 2.5 million shares of MSTR Series essentially Petronas Strike preferred stock, each with a $100 liquidation preference, and these shares will pay a dividends at a fixed rate of determined at the time of pricing, are set to be distributed quarterly pending essentially approval. Now, MicroStrategy has essentially paused their buying method. So MicroStrategy, or strategy now, Michael Saylor, announced last year that they're going to be accumulating more Bitcoin for a good 2 years. So MicroStrategy announced last year they're going to be buying Bitcoin for 2 years, and they're going to be spending $42 billion in 2 years. So 2025 and 2026, they're going to be buying Bitcoin, is what was announced last year by strategy Michael Saylor. And they're going to spend $42 billion. However, it was announced that MicroStrategy is no longer buying Bitcoin. And the reasonings essentially were because they're doing some changes and so on and so on. But strange. Now that we're moving into apparently a Bitcoin reserve, but instead it's a crypto stockpile, because that was what was signed in the executive order, a crypto, essentially a digital asset reserve, not a Bitcoin reserve. But now that we're moving into this whole Bitcoin reserve, according to MicroStrategy, why slow down the Bitcoin purchase? Bit odd, I think, if you really think about it. Because if we go into a Bitcoin reserve, that's going to be amazing for MicroStrategy, or strategy in this case. So why slow down the Bitcoin purchase makes no sense. Especially a time like this. Because if Michael Saylor and people like Michael Saylor believe that a Bitcoin reserve is about to be happening, why slow down the Bitcoin purchase? Odd. Just slightly odd. I'll be honest. We'll find out probably later on why he stopped it, because maybe it's not going to be a Bitcoin reserve, but instead going to be a crypto reserve. That could be one of the reasons why he probably stopped purchasing Bitcoin back to back. Now, essentially moving off from the name strategy that used to be MicroStrategy to Algorand. While we were talking about just previously about DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, and I said the Department of Government Efficiency should be in every government. Well, the Department of Government Efficiency, or Elon Musk, announced that they're thinking about, adding blockchain to the Department of Government Efficiencies, and essentially for a few of government departments to make U.S. government departments more transparent. One particular crypto project decided to make contact with the Department of Government Efficiency, and they decided to pitch their blockchain project to Elon Musk, I'm guessing. And the crypto project in question is Algorand. Algorand Foundation decided to essentially make contact and pitch their blockchain to the Department of Government Efficiency. Because Elon Musk, a few days ago, it was announced that he's thinking about adding blockchain to make the government more transparent. So Algorand took a shot. The Algorand Foundation pitched themselves to the Department of Government Efficiency. Here it is. Algorand Foundation has pitched its network to the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE in other words, as suitable for taking the US government operations on chain and making them more transparent. According to the foundation, the network's entire history is quantum resistant, which means it is ideal for storing data on chain even in a world where quantum computing is a reality. It said, Algorand's entire chain history is quantum resistant. In a essentially quantum world where quantum computing is advanced, this provides an ideal level of security for many use cases, ensuring data remains tamper-proof. So just in case the world does go more towards quantum computing, and there's always that fear of quantum computing is able to crack on blockchain, and reality is going to be quite difficult, very difficult. But let's just presume it can. Algorand said they're completely resistant proof and that quantum computing can never break through Algorand in any sort of a way, and therefore makes it an ideal choice for data storage for the US government. The foundation noted that Algorand is an excellent platform for tracking government spending. This is a reaction essentially to several reports that the newly formed DOGE, essentially, which has Elon Musk at its head, is considering using blockchain technology to reduce the federal government's running expenses. While nothing is official, people close to Musk have reportedly been discussing using blockchain technology for several purposes, including tracking spending, making payments, and securing data. News reports are also claiming that people connected to DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, have been meeting with blockchain companies to evaluate their technologies. So apparently, the Department of Government Efficiency, Elon Musk, the DOGE department, is actually having sit-downs with blockchain co-founders and CEOs and discussing if their crypto project is the best option for the United States government to store data, to do payments, and everything else, which is incredible. This is likely why the Algorand Foundation is putting their network's name in the ring, because I'm guessing the Department of Government Efficiency or Elon Musk didn't have a sit down with Algorand. So Algorand thought, you know what, we're going to pitch ourselves to them. But the question remains, who has Elon Musk spoke to about becoming the backbone for securing data, making payments, and tracking spending for the United States government? So the question does remain, who has Elon Musk talked to? Which blockchain projects? Is it XRP? Is it XLM? Is it XDC? Is it HBAR? Algorand, launched in 2019, is a second-generation Layer 1 network that prides itself on never having a downtime in any sort of a way. However, the network has not seen much adoption as some of its peers, such as Solana. Still, its Algo token is among the top 50 digital assets by market capitalization, despite dropping 23% year to date. Despite a relatively weaker performance compared to its peers, the latest report from Missouri on Algorand's essentially Q4 performance shows that the network saw substantial growth in the last 3 months of 2024. New addresses of network increased by 176% quarter on quarter, going from 1.3 million essentially in Q3 to 3.5 million by the end of Q4. Along with that, its market cap also increased by 151%, while transaction fees rose 124% to reaching $144,000, reflecting a higher activity in the final quarter of the year. Meanwhile, the network continues to develop even as it sees less adoption than its peers. It introduced staking rewards in 2025 and saw ZTL Mint migrate from Ethereum to Algorand in October. The network has also seen some adoption for international organizations with the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, partnering with Algorand Foundation to train 24,000 UN personnel through the UNDP Blockchain Academy. Meanwhile, DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, may have bigger issues after several US organizations filed lawsuits against the agency's access to government records. It is true, a lot of Democratic politicians, not retail section, Democratic politicians are furious regarding what has Elon Musk done with the Department of Government Efficiencies, and they are being sued. They're trying to take down Elon Musk. Democratic politicians are trying to take down Elon Musk because Elon Musk is revealing all of their dirty tricks. Let's just be honest with ourselves. All of the mismanagement of taxpayers' money, the incredible US debt that's being created is because of who was controlling that essentially deficit, that debt. And the Democratic politicians are coming out. If anybody's seen it, it's quite funny. The Democratic politicians are coming out on the news and they're stating Elon Musk is not an American citizen. Elon Musk is trying to take away your grandpa's. This is what Senator Elizabeth Warren said. Senator Elizabeth Warren said Elon Musk is trying to take away your grandpa's pension. Elon Musk is not an American citizen. Elon Musk should have no right to see American citizen transactions. Just a load of spewing lies, as usual, from the Democratic politicians. Just a massive spewing of lies. And they've all forgot to mention one thing, which is how much Elon Musk has saved in terms of money just in 2 weeks for the United States government, which is a ridiculous amount. Because revealing that essentially the government, the US government, was spending $10 million on ice cream cones. Let's just presume if they were ice cream cones. These are, it makes no sense. It's like watching Wolf of Wall Street, but the US government version. You know how in Wolf of Wall Street, they were spending essentially, millions of pounds in restaurants on sushi, for example. It's like that's how it was. If anybody's seen the movie Wolf of Wall Street, there's a scene where essentially Leonardo DiCaprio, who's playing the main character, his father walks in with the bill of everything they spent in the company. They spent like ridiculous amounts of money at restaurants and cafes and bars. It didn't make sense. That's basically how it was when you look at the government spending in the US. They spent $70 million on sushi of tax-paying money. $70 million on sushi, $74 million on sushi, when people in the United States had disasters happen to their homes, when people's homes were flooded in the United States, they received $750. Each family, not each person, each family in a flood situation in the United States received $750 as a loan. They had to pay it back, the $750. And then you have the USA department spending $74 million on sushi of tax-paying money. And then they're spending $2-3 million on trying to find the perfect ice cream cone. They spent $1.5 million putting a shrimp on a treadmill. It just doesn't add up. And the Democrats forgot to mention all of these things. The Democratic politicians, like Senator Elizabeth Warren, who was standing there, they forgot to mention all of these things. Instead, they went in the streets and they said, blatantly lying on the microphone and just saying Elon Musk is not an American citizen. Elon Musk is not elected by the people. Elon Musk is not elected by anyone. Elon Musk is trying to essentially ruin your grandpa's pension and so on and so on. But they didn't mention all this ridiculous spendings they were doing with the taxpaying money. When people in America, some of them can't afford to put food on their table, or can't afford electrics, or can't afford gas. All their houses were just taken away by a flood or a hurricane, while their taxpaying money was being spent on putting a shrimp on a treadmill for $1.3 million. So it's ridiculous. And these people have the cheek, Senator Elizabeth Warren and the people around her have the cheek to say we're suing Elon Musk. For what? Revealing your dirty tricks? for revealing you're pretty much scum. Because honestly, there are people who are living on streets in the United States who can't afford to put a roof over their head or afford food, or because their house was swept away by floods or hurricanes, and they're living in their cars right now. And you have the cheek to go against the one person who's trying to, save the United States, save money for the United States, stop you from spending $74 million on sushi. So it just blows my mind, the crazy stuff these people pull off. And every single one of them is absolute scum. Honestly, because if you have people in your country who are living on the streets, who can't afford basic, food, a roof over their head, healthcare or something, and you're here spending their tax-paying money on putting a shrimp on a treadmill for $1.3 million, or finding out which pillow is the fluffiest for $2.3 million, or sending condoms to a war zone for $1.5 million or something. This is why these people are scum. So at this point, I couldn't care less if Elon Musk is not an American. I couldn't care less if Elon Musk doesn't have an American passport. And nobody in America should care less either. Because if you are somebody with brain cells, you should understand that Elon Musk, even if he isn't, for example, let's just presume Elon Musk is not an American. He's not an American citizen. He's not elected by the government. Who cares? Because this man is doing something great for your country, and you just need to realize what he's doing. Forget about where he comes from. Forget about if he has a passport or not, because what he is doing is saving you. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to save money for the United States, so when a flood situation happens or a hurricane happens inside the United States, people don't get $750 on a loan as a family, not even per person. That's what Elon Musk is trying to achieve. So the topic isn't about what Senator Elizabeth Warren or the Democratic politicians going behind a microphone and saying, oh, Elon Musk is not an American citizen. Who elected Elon Musk? And so on and so on. The topic isn't about that. It's about he's revealing that those people are scum. And that's what people should focus on. But they're trying to shift the focus away from how they spent $1.3 million to put a shrimp on a treadmill. And they're trying to shift the focus away completely from that to Elon Musk is not an American citizen, so he has no right on what he says. He's providing facts. He's providing receipts. So that is what matters. Not if Elon Musk is American or Elon Musk is not an American or Elon Musk could be from Mars as far as I care. Because what only matters is him revealing where your money is going to. That's all people should focus on. And the Democratic politicians are trying to shift that away. So no, he's not an American, so his opinion doesn't matter. Yes, it does matter. He's a human being, and everyone's opinion matter, especially when it comes to your money, your tax-paying money. Honestly, it just blows my mind. They spent $1.3 million to put a shrimp on a treadmill. When people's houses were flooded away, they received $750 as a family on a loan. $750. Your house, imagine a hurricane comes, your house is completely gone. And the American government comes and gives you $750 on a loan for your entire family. Not per person, for your whole family, $750 on a loan, and your house is gone. And at the meantime, they're spending $1.3 million to put a shrimp on a treadmill, or $74 million to buy sushi every year with your tax-paying money. So that is what Elon Musk is trying to reveal. And the Democratic politicians are trying to, shift people's focus on what's actually being revealed to, he's not an American. He doesn't have an American passport. Who cares? So it's just crazy. And now they're trying to obviously sue the DOGE department. All these scum, literally all of these scum politicians are trying to sue Elon Musk, this DOGE department, for revealing their dirty tricks. And there are actually people supporting Elizabeth Warren. Regular 9-to-5 people supporting Elizabeth Warren. But the Democratic, essentially, the people that support Democrats are not scum. The people that support Democratic people, the people that support the regular folks, the retail section people, are not scum. When I say scum, I'm referring to politicians only. The Democratic politicians only. They are the scum. The people that get, fooled by them, they'll, essentially realize one point, that you shouldn't listen to Elizabeth Warren because she couldn't care less about you at all. Because honestly, when I saw the receipts, I couldn't believe it. $1.3 million for a shrimp on a treadmill. I couldn't believe that. $74 million on sushi. While people are getting $750 when their house is gone. But yeah, that is really happening. They're looking into suing Doge for revealing their dirty tricks. May have a bigger issue after several US organizations have filed lawsuits against Elon Musk's Doge department. The records do show these federal employee unions sued the Treasury Department for giving Doge full access to confidential bureau system services. They're trying to say Elon Musk is going to have access to American money. Elon Musk is not going to have access to your, essentially, pensions. That is a complete lie that Senator Elizabeth Warren is spreading as usual. Senator Elizabeth Warren was the same person that spread that 98% of transactions on the crypto space are all illegal, essentially illegal activities. It was an article that the Wall Street Journal lied about, and Senator Elizabeth Warren used that article to go into Congress and say 90 to 98% of crypto transactions are all illegal activities. And then the Wall Street Journal got essentially, it revealed that Chain Analysis did a data report and said the Wall Street Journal is lying. The Wall Street Journal edited the article and said, sorry, it wasn't 90 to 98%. It was more like 0.1%. Senator Elizabeth Warren didn't use the edited article afterwards. She kept on using the first article with the spewed lies. She's head to toe filled with lies. I'm waiting for the day, she finally decides to resign. I can't say the other one, but I'm waiting for the day she finally resigns. But it just blows my mind that essentially the amount of lies they're spewing about Elon Musk, and they're trying to, silence what he's trying to reveal and instead try to make people focus on which country he was born in. As that even matters. And now they're trying to lie to people and say Elon Musk is trying to have access to your pensions. Senator Elizabeth Warren, she said Elon Musk is trying to have access to your grandpa's pensions. No, he isn't. He's trying to see if your grandpa is actually going to receive his pension, is what they forgot to say. Because the way the US is spending money, it looks like people's grandpas will not receive their pensions. And that is what Elon Musk is trying to find out, if people are actually going to receive their pensions. Not that Elon Musk is going to take their pensions. He's trying to see if people are going to actually receive their pensions at the end. That is what Elon Musk is trying to find out. But again, they won't tell you that on the news. So the union is essentially Alliance for Retirement American Service Employees, International Union, and American Federation of Government Employees all claim the Treasury Secretary Scott Benson acted essentially arbitrarily without following the law, putting personal data of millions at risk. No, it isn't. Nobody's data is at risk. Everyone's money is at risk when the Democrats are controlling US aid. Democrats in Congress have also criticized Doge and plan to introduce a bill to stop the agency to access their payment systems. Good luck with that one, because as far as everyone else is aware, the Democratic Party lost on every category. Because if you go back, maybe, I don't know, a month or so, you realize that the Republicans had a clean sweep. So good luck on the Democrats trying to get votes in to block Elon Musk from doing God's work, pretty much, on revealing essentially where your money is going to. However, the acting U.S. Attorney General Ed Martin warned against interference or threats targeting essentially Doge workers. So Ed Martin has said that if anybody tries to target the Doge workers, it's not going to end well for them. Honestly, it just blows my mind of the amount of lies they spew. And there are people holding colorful posters standing behind Elizabeth Warren saying, yes, Elon Musk needs to be stopped. And the people behind them are apparently agreeing to spending $1.3 million on putting a shrimp on a treadmill. I'm guessing. Because if you support Elizabeth Warren, that means you accept that government workers should spend $74 million of your taxpaying money buying sushi, is what you're accepting if you support Elizabeth Warren. BlackRock is what we're going to talk about next. But before we talk about BlackRock, let's go inside the comment section first and let's see what's going on. As I said previously, this is live, which means if you do have any questions, put it down inside the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. So let's see what's going on inside the comment section, and then we'll go straight into BlackRock news. Let's see where we were at. We were at here, as I said, I read everyone's comments one by one. I read out your name, then your comment, give you an answer, and I get through everyone's comments. Garbage trucks, apparently, regarding the gold situation. Yeah, the tons of gold missing in the UK. Yeah. He sure will. Miles, why don't we set up our own Doge department in the United Kingdom? Because the current party we have inside the United Kingdom will never let that happen. The UK gold is in Ukraine right now. I wouldn't be surprised. The tons of gold that's missing from the UK government, I wouldn't be surprised if it's in Zelensky's pocket right now. I heard that Prince Andrew paid off Epstein, but by way of gold. I wouldn't be surprised about that one either. Hello, Miles. Troy, good to see you. So how you doing? How you been? I know where the gold is. British gave the gold to Anarchy to make them very nice crowns. Lol. Let's go, Kelly. Even if I was in CMF, Pierce, good to see you. So how you doing, brother? How you been? Hi, how's it going? Nicholas, good to see you. How you doing? I think HBAR will be they already working with Elon on other projects. You think HBAR will be chosen as the project for Elon Musk's blockchain project? So Elon Musk, if you don't know, if you just tuned in, Algorand Foundation, the Algo Foundation, decided to make contact with DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, with Elon Musk, because Elon Musk has suggested that people around Elon Musk have suggested that Elon Musk is looking for a blockchain to be used by the US government to show full transparency of payments and everything else, and data storage and so on. So the Algorand Foundation decided to make contact with the US government, with essentially the Department of Government Efficiency, to pitch themselves to Elon Musk and say, you know what, you should choose Algorand, for example. And apparently, Elon Musk's Doge department has been having some sort of contact with other blockchain firms in the United States and seeing which one is the best one to choose to, be the backbone of the US when it comes to transparency. So that's why Algorand has decided to show themselves off, and that is why HBAR essentially was thrown. That's why Orphan said, I think HBAR will be already working with Elon or other projects. Possibility. It could be XRP, it could be XLM, it could be XTC, it could be HBAR, it could be Cardano. I'm guessing whatever it's going to be, it's going to be an American blockchain company. Without a doubt, I think, going forward, I think it's definitely going to be an American blockchain company. Good day, Miles and CMF. Mike, good to see you as well. How you doing, brother? How you been? He's a citizen regarding Elon Musk. Miles, where come from Miles Musk background? Actually, sorry, from where about America background come from? Elon Musk, as far as I'm aware, is South African. Facts, Miles. Let's go, Carol. Let's go, Stormy. There once were documents proving Iraq pays Iran $6 million a month to import ice. Isn't this the same corruption US calls out in Iraq? They are doing the same. Facts, they are. I agree. Hi, Miles and CMF. You've truly a blessing to all of us. Golden Dragon, thank you so much for the kind words. Good to see you as well. How you doing? So, BlackRock. Moving on from the Doge and how Doge is trying to help people, the Elon Musk is actually trying to help people, to BlackRock. BlackRock to launch Bitcoin ETP in Europe. BlackRock is, obviously the biggest player in the Bitcoin ETF space by a mile. Nobody catches up to them in any sort of a way, even worldwide basis. And BlackRock has decided to essentially put its footsteps in the EU. Now, this is probably due to the MiCA regulations in the EU, having that regulation in place and some sort of licensing in place and so on. And the EU is aiming also for the title of the capital of cryptocurrencies, the same as the US is, or Singapore is, or Hong Kong is, or Tokyo is, or Dubai is, for example, or even London is. So here it is. BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, is preparing to launch Bitcoin ETPs in Europe, according to a report that came out from Bloomberg today. The move comes after BlackRock US spot Bitcoin ETF, iShares Bitcoin Trust IBIT, drew upwards of $57 billion in net assets after essentially launching in January 2024. BlackRock's IBIT fund is America's most essentially popular spot Bitcoin ETF, and BlackRock's European Bitcoin ETP will reportedly be essentially in Switzerland. The asset manager plans to start marketing their funds as soon as this month, and Bloomberg said, citing people familiar with the matter. BlackRock is at the top, essentially the top ETF issuer with $4.4 trillion in assets under management across a suite of ETPs. And this would be BlackRock's first Bitcoin ETP outside of North America, Bloomberg said. And BlackRock has been doubling down on its IBIT success with international expansions. In January, BlackRock essentially launched a new Bitcoin ETF regarding CBO in Canada. The ETF allowed Canadian investors to access BlackRock's flagship US Bitcoin fund. And overall, the US Bitcoin ETF saw more than $35 billion essentially net inflows in 2024, or roughly essentially $144 million in net inflows each trading day, according to the data from Farsight essentially investors. Now, in November, US Bitcoin ETFs broke $100 billion in net assets for the first time, according to data from Bloomberg Intelligence, and crypto analysts essentially expect Bitcoin ETFs to attract another roughly $48 billion worth of net inflows by the end of 2025. Bitcoin has become a more important component of investors' portfolios, essentially as they increasingly seek to hedge against geopolitical risk and inflation. In terms of investment banks, JP Morgan said in December's report, citing that the record capital inflows into crypto essentially markets. Surging institutional inflows could cause essentially a positive demand and shocks for Bitcoin's potentially sending BTC's price soaring in 2025. An asset manager Sangam Bank said in December this exact same thing. So BlackRock essentially launching their Bitcoin ETP in the European market space due to, I'm guessing, the MiCA regulations. Makes a lot of sense why they want to do that as their potential next step, which is definitely going to bring a lot more, to the table as well. Now, moving on from BlackRock's ETP to the two heavyweights of the world, the US and China. Now, the US essentially putting 10% tariffs on China yesterday, which I explained to everyone. And then China decided to retaliate with a 15% import tax on the US, the other way around. And some other taxes, essentially on tariffs and taxes on other US essentially companies coming into the US as well, import and exports. And today, we have some news of what's the impact so far. Well, the impact's been good so far for gold. US-China conflict fuels a gold rush. The shares of gold mining companies have surged today ridiculously, and Wall Street fueled by a historical record of gold at $2,869 per ounce. And this spectacular rise occurs in the context of trade wars between Washington and Beijing, pushing investors towards essentially safe havens. The main gold mining companies listed in the United States recorded significant gains as the market opened. Newmont and Barrick Gold, the sector's giants, increased by 1.1% and 1.3%. South African gold miners, also benefited from this monumentum situation, with Goldfields up 2.5%. While Canadian companies, essentially gold mining companies, gained 1.3% to 1.7%. This remarkable performance is explained by the surge in gold price, which reached new historic peaks of $2,869.68 per ounce. At the start of the trading session, the yellow metal is fully benefiting from the fears caused by the escalation of trade tensions between the United States and China. Analysts emphasize that this trend could continue as global gold demands increased by 1% in 2024. According to the World Gold Council, the massive purchases by central banks, which exceeded 1,000 tons for the third consecutive year, also support the market. The recent escalation of trade tensions between the United States and China has played a crucial role in this rise. Following essentially the new US tariffs measures, Beijing quickly responded by imposing its own tariffs on American imports. The situation was essentially was the situation by President Donald Trump's statements indicated that it was not to hurry to speak with President Xi Jinping, because President Xi Jinping was supposed to have a conversation on the phone with Trump yesterday, but China decided to escalate things for no apparent reason before Trump put tariffs on their country. Analysts from essentially metal companies, one of them based out in Germany, pointed out that the fears of gold recessions and the rising inflation fueled by this trade war are pushing investors towards gold as a safe haven. This trend is reinforced by warnings from 3 Federal Reserve officials regarding the potential impact of tariffs on inflation. In conclusion, the rush of central banks towards gold is intensifying aimed rising geopolitical tensions. Other analysts, also from StoneX, warns that, however, the precious metal shows signs of being overbought, with its relative strength index at essentially 76, significantly exceeding the critical threshold of 70. A short-term correction seems likely despite solid fundamentals. Obviously, the longer essentially this China and the United States situation carries on forward, the longer the price of gold is going to be a bit more stable and go slightly more up, bit by bit. But is this China and the United States situation going to last for a very long time? It shouldn't. Max 48 hours. Because if it goes, as I said, beyond 48 hours, China already has a massive economic bubble crisis situation going on. The thing is, if China doesn't cave into Trump's demands, Trump will put pressure on pretty much every country to turn against China. And if it does that, China will be standing on its last leg, or even going towards a heavy recession. China has a massive real estate situation going on, massive real estate bubble, which if burst, China can crash 10 times harder than the 2008 situation. So if it goes beyond 48 hours and they really do push Trump's buttons, Trump can pretty much turn every trade country against China by imposing heavy tariffs on them, that they're not allowed to work with China. If they do, then they get imposed on heavy tariffs. So Trump can turn around and say, if the EU works with China, then we'll put heavy tariffs on China, which will make the EU not work with China. They say if the UK works with China, we're putting heavy tariffs on China. If Singapore works with China, we're putting heavy tariffs on China, on Singapore. And Trump can have the power to do that. If he does this, China's fully aware he can do this, then China will be going into a massive recession. They're already going towards a real estate bubble, which they're trying to stay away from. So, as I said yesterday, China trying to show temporary power of showboating is the worst mistake China could have possibly made. Because even Saudi Arabia, for example, even Saudi Arabia, who was, asked to join the BRICS nations, for example, rejecting the BRICS nations was because of America, because nobody can go against the US. It's just a losing battle. A lot of people, presume the US is weak and the US is not too strong and nobody needs the US and every country can, go along and do whatever they want without the US. And the reality of it is, that's not how the world operates. Because if people presume that countries can just go and live their lives without the US intervening, you're living in la-la land. There needs to always be one country in charge of the world. And some people say, why is that? Why is one country always needs to be in charge of the world? Why can't every country just, have equal power? Because the issue is, if every country has equal power, then some countries will decide to do certain things, which they shouldn't. But when you have one country in charge of everybody else, and for example, China decides to take Taiwan one day, US being in control can say, nope, you can't do that. Or, anything on a major scale tries to happen, there needs to be somebody in control. Because if everyone's sitting at equal power, and in reality, we're not going to be sitting at equal power because China has a huge amount of nuclear power. So does Russia, so does the US, and every other country has some or none. So technically, we still won't be on equal playing fields. And that's why we need one country in charge of everything. And the US is better choice than China will ever be. By a mile, the US is always going to be the better choice. But again, China doesn't have a leg to stand on. The longer China tries to, Xi Jinping tries to show off and do this whole charade about China is strong and China doesn't need the US and the US needs China, it's a complete load of BS. And Xi Jinping knows this. But again, he wants to show strength. Because what was China and Russia and South Africa and Brazil and India doing beforehand? They started BRICS. Remember BRICS? When Biden was in charge, BRICS was coming out of nowhere. Brazil, India, China, Russia coming together, South Africa, showing the world strength. Now China is strong, Russia is strong. We don't need the US. Well, that went to complete S. Let's just be honest with ourselves. So China is not happy because they've lost their showboating power. Because under Biden's administration, China was showing strength. China was going around, getting more countries to join BRICS and showing that China is strong. And you can stand, behind China instead of standing behind the US. But now we have Trump, and America is strong than ever before. And China has lost its temporary strength. And China's not happy. And Beijing is acting like a child. Not Beijing, Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping is acting like a child because he's lost that showboating temporary power he had under Biden's administration, where countries that were joining China left China. Saudi Arabia was about to join BRICS, but then last minute, Trump won. Saudi Arabia said, nope, we're joining the US because we're not going to go against Trump. So Saudi Arabia left BRICS whole scenario. Panama had a contract with China when Biden was in power. That's ended very quickly because Panama decided to go back with the US. So that again made China look weak because they had a contract with China and China was supposed to be in control. The issue is they've lost a lot of power. China has lost a lot of power since Trump has stepped in. All the countries that were joining BRICS, one by one, they're a bit iffy now. Due to the whole 100% tax, 100% tariffs on their countries. 100% tariffs. So all the countries that were thinking about joining BRICS, one by one, they changed their minds, slowly. All the countries that had contracts in place with China decided to scrap their contracts and go, we're back with the US. So Xi Jinping, China, they lost that temporary strength they had under Biden. And now they want to show to the whole world that China is still strong, even with Trump in power. And in reality, it isn't. It just isn't. So this is why I say China shouldn't extend this whole this showboating tariff situation of, Trump saying 10% tariff on China and China saying, well, we're doing 15% on the US. Really? It's embarrassing. China should just let it go because it's a losing battle. And it shouldn't last more than 48 hours before China caves in some sort of a way. Because if it goes beyond 48 hours and it continues and it continues and it continues, China's yuan is being, decreased in value against the US dollar right now. The longer it carries on, the worse it will be for China, for their currency, for their economy. And they have a massive economic bubble crisis situation for their real estate space. So the longer this carries on, the worse it gets for China. Sure, it would have some effects on the US not being able to do business with China. Not saying the US will have no effects whatsoever. It will have some effects on the US, but it will have more effect on China in the long term. And China knows this. So they have to give up this whole, we're strong no matter if Trump is in power. When in reality, they're not. Panama left China like this. They scrapped their whole contract and said, nope, we're back with Trump. And that makes China look weak in front of the whole world. And Xi Jinping is not happy. So when Trump said 10% tariffs and China said, we're doing 15% tariffs on the US, and they didn't take Trump's call, which makes it even worse. Because Trump was supposed to have a conversation on the phone with Xi Jinping. And then out of nowhere, they introduced 15% tariffs back to the US. So Trump said, okay, we're not even going to do a phone call. Let's just see basically last man standing. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be the US or China, last man standing? And China knows it's going to be the US that's last man standing, not China. Because they can turn every country pretty much against China. And then China's best friend will only become Russia. even if that happens, because Putin is very close with Trump as well. So that probably won't happen either. It's just, in general, it's a losing battle for China to continue this charade of fake power they presume to have. Because with a Trump presidency, they have no power. No power. Sure, bring back Biden, China has a lot of power. But Biden's gone, and Trump is now in position. That means China has zero power. And China knows this. So it's just a matter of time when you're going to hear it on the news. China has caved to Trump's demands, is what Fox News will tell you, which is, or what Elon Musk will tell you, which is going to be true, because Fox News has become relatively more accurate on the information they provide. It's more truthful, I'll be honest. So when you do hear the news that China has caved to Trump's demands, because it is going to happen, China is going to cave to Trump's demands, because China knows they can't continue this charade in any sort of a way. That's going to happen, guaranteed. 1 billion% China will cave to Trump's demands. 1 billion%. You're going to hear it on X. Elon Musk is definitely going to announce it, but then CNN will announce it in a way where, oh, you know, China essentially pressured America and America caved. In reality, that's never going to happen. But, you know, CNN lies about their own country. Just blows my mind as well. But 1 billion%. I'll take it further. 1 quadrillion%. 1 quadrillion%. China will cave to Trump's demands. 1 quadrillion%. The same way Mexico already caved, the same way Canadian businesses caved in 24 hours and decided to open up manufacturing in the US, the same way Panama dropped China on their contracts, is the same way China is going to go, we're going to continue, we're going to accept your demands. 1 quadrillion% China will cave to Trump's demands. Now, ACH. ACH acquires Korea Electronic Financial Business Registration. If you're somebody that's holding essentially ACH crypto project, well, ACH has got a multitude of licenses. So moving on essentially from China and the US trade deals to ACH, a crypto project inside the financial space essentially. And they're on the same category as XRP, XLM, XDC, HBAR. ACH is pretty much in the same category. And ACH has acquired another license in South Korea now. They've acquired licensings in Hong Kong, in US states, in Middle Eastern countries like Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, United Arab Emirates, even in the EU, they've acquired some sort of licensings, ACH. So they're doing quite well for themselves. The new one is Korea, South Korea. So here it is. Cryptocurrency company provider Almichi Pay has acquired an electronic financial business registration in South Korea after investing in local e-finance platforms, allowing the company to offer a wide range of financial services in the country. According to an announcement, Almichi Pay invested an undisclosed amount into essentially PG Co. In doing so, Almichi Pay received a electronic business license, which is governed by the country's Electronic Financial Transaction Act, which means ACH can now do transactions on paper or within this legal system of South Korea. And the recent was also Australia that received another license. Companies that essentially have obtained this registration can offer a wide range of financial services in South Korea, including money transfer, online payment gateways, services, and digital asset services. With the registration, ACH Pay now can process crypto asset transactions and provide access to local payment methods, including Keiko Pay, Payco, and NeverPay, which are pretty much, I'm guessing, the PayPal version of essentially South Korea, or Money App version of South Korea. Almichi Pay, which is based in Singapore, has identified South Korea as a pivotal hub in Asia for both traditional finance and digital currency adoption. Now, South Korea has taken additional steps to regulate cryptocurrency transactions in the country as well. As a Cointelegraph report stated, the government plans to integrate foreign exchange rules into cross-border transactions involving essentially US dollar-pegged stablecoins. The country is also carefully considering rules for corporate essentially investments. Beyond payment, cryptocurrencies have become popular investments for South Koreans. In November 2024, the country crypto holder base was estimated at $15.6 million, or more than 30% of their population, according to Democratic Parties of Korea's representatives, Lim Koo. Now, the country is home to several crypto exchanges, for example, the most popular being Upbit and essentially BitThumb, which their number one sales in terms of crypto assets has always been XRP, more than Ethereum and Bitcoin, believe it or not. Institutional investors have also been driven in the adoption of cryptocurrencies in the country. According to recent reports by Chainalysis, South Korea is Asia's largest crypto market in terms of essentially total value received. In a traditional financial systems, has essentially led investors to seek out companies and essentially seek out cryptocurrencies as alternative assets in Korea. A local exchange representatives told Chainalysis in a new report, and the public's essentially perception of crypto as a viable investment option has been further solidified by adoption of blockchain by major essentially corporations like Samsung and larger enterprises in the region that are working to enhance operations and transparencies and efficiencies, as they essentially said in that new report. So ACH is pretty much got a new license ahead of themselves. They just got a new license on South Korea. The last license they received was in Australia, which helped their price point jump quite a bit, actually, to be very honest. But now their new license is in South Korea. So if you are somebody that is holding essentially ACH, it's looking like it's going to have an amazing future ahead of itself, as I said a long time ago. But if you're somebody that sold their ACH to buy more, for example, XRP or XLM or XDC or H4 in a sense, don't worry. Your future still is going to be absolutely incredible, to be fairly honest. Now, moving on to Ripple news. Ripple's USD stablecoin now live on Zero Hash and Revolut. More places are listing essentially RLUSD. Now, before we go for the Ripple news, let's go inside the comment section first. As I said previously, this is live, which means if you do have any questions, put it down inside the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. So let's go inside the comment section first, and then we go straight into the Ripple news. Carol says, "Facts, Smiles." Let's go. Okay, we were here. Orphan says, Thompson says, yeah, we were here. Thompson says, that is excellent to know that Elon is an American citizen. Therefore, he's an African-American law. He's a viable minority. China is not happy because they have already tariffs from Biden administration, and this means for them extra 10%. The Biden administration wasn't really the one that put 10% tariffs on them. It was the previous Trump administration that put 10% tariffs on them. Isn't it factual that if a country is pushed into economic recession, that can be essentially a recipe towards war? If a country is pushed towards an economic recession, is that a recipe for war? Yes. But is that war going to happen? No. China is not going to go into war with the US. It's just never going to happen. China, US, and Russia are never going to go into a war. That's never going to happen. Other smaller countries going into war is always a possibility. A World War III is never going to happen. China, Russia, and essentially the US are never going to go into war. That's never going to happen either. If they do go into war, it's going to be on somebody else's land, not on their land. So yes, if a country does get pushed to economic pressure and they go for a recession, it is a sign that they can, if they want to go towards a war, but it's never going to happen. China's never going to start a war with the US, and the US is never going to start a war with China, and Russia's never going to start a war with either one of them. It's just never going to happen. Not in a billion years. I'm not seeing posts on YouTube. I'm seeing a post on here, though. We Miles, be nice. Let's go Stormy. But yeah, it is. You are right, essentially. You are right, Orphan, but in this scenario, it's never going to happen. Sorry, Michael, you are right, but in this scenario, it's never going to happen. So does ACH, let's go Stormy, and Ian, I can see a post on here. So does ACH move up your ranking on your top 20? No. I'll still keep it where it is because XRP, XLM, XDC, and H4 and so on are better right now, obviously in terms of financial categories. But ACH, if you are someone that's holding, I'm holding it obviously as well, small amount, but it's a great asset. But obviously the other ones are much better. Now, hey CMF, Elf, Erica, good to see you. How you doing? How you been, Erica? Miles, is it worth buying Shiba Inu because of what I announced yesterday? Okay, I'm somebody that never talks about meme coins. I never talk about meme coins, but I have said in the past, because I like to talk about legitimate projects, that have a foundation, licensing, something that they bring to the table. And a long time ago, I said that the only meme coins that I think will survive everything that's thrown at them is what I said about 2 years ago. I said it will be Shiba Inu because it's used for washing. I said it's going to be Doge because of Elon Musk. And I said Lunacy because of the team behind it. And I said these are the 3 meme coins that in my eye will survive pretty much anything that's thrown at them. I said this about 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago. But in general, I never talk about meme coins. I always talk about legitimate projects, you know, something that has a license or a partnership, major contract in place or something. And yesterday, I made the announcement that, and again, I never talk about meme coins, but yesterday I made the announcement that Shiba Inu signed with a government department in the United Arab Emirates for energy. So Shiba OS, which is what Shiba Inu is developing. Shiba OS signed with a government department for energy in the United Arab Emirates, which is incredible for Shiba Inu to do that because of their Shiba OS platform. And the partnership was for Web3 and data and so on. So it's incredible either way that Shiba is going to be a part of an oil, essentially energy basis for the United Arab Emirates. So that is why Crypto Dawn is asking the question for anybody that's wondering of why he said, Miles, is it worth buying Shiba Inu? If you want to, you know, not financial advice in any sort of way. If you want to, it's your choice. What I would say is if you do have legitimate crypto projects like XRP, XLM, XDC, HBAR, Adder, AVAX, any of these in your portfolio, and then you want to throw a little bit on Shiba Inu due to that announcement from the United Arab Emirates, go for it. But if you don't have enough of legitimate assets, then I wouldn't really consider that as a viable position. But if you have enough of legitimate assets, then why not? But again, it's your money, not financial advice in any sort of a way. Now, Ripple has launched their ORL-USD on more platforms, being these ones. ORL-USD, Ripple stablecoin, is officially now available for trading on 2 major crypto trading platforms. And I did say also a long time ago, as per the post on X, Ripple's USD is now available on Zero Hash, a provider of crypto as service solutions, and Revolut, a financial tech company that offers crypto trading. Ripple's ORL-USD allows users to hold, buy, and trade essentially tokenized USD on-chain with stablecoins held at the highest standards, backed by fully transparent reserves. Ripple's USD is designed to maintain a consistent value of $1 and is issued natively essentially on the XRP ledger and the Ethereum's blockchain, and is fully backed essentially by reserves of cash and cash equivalents and US Treasury bonds and everything else by a 1-to-1 ratio for US dollars. So Ripple's ORL-USD is available on 2 other platforms now, which is Revolut Bank and essentially Zero Hash, which is great, amazing news. But here's a better one, relatable to Ripple. Now, if you know Coinbase, if you know the SEC, since Gary Gensler has left the SEC and resigned on January 20th, the SEC has shed a lot of the negativity that it had in the past. I mean, the moment Gary Gensler left, they created a crypto task force overnight and put Hester Pierce, who is extremely pro-crypto, in charge of the crypto task force in the SEC. So the SEC, over the past few days, has done a lot of shedding when it comes to the negativity that they used to bring to the table in cryptocurrencies. They created a crypto task force to be more positive. They're looking into all their cases. They got rid of 50 lawyers because they're not going to be suing crypto companies anymore. And today was announced this. Ripple Coinbase case prosecutor, Ripple and Coinbase's case prosecutor, resigned from their position to a much more worse position. So here it is. The Securities Exchange Commission has since moved George, its former deputy chief of crypto assets and crypto unit, to the agency's computer system management department, according to the Wall Street Journal. So the person that was in charge of pretty much suing Ripple, well, there was another person that sued Ripple and then quit the next day a long time ago from the SEC and decided to create his own crypto company. That's another story. But the person that was carrying on, the person in the SEC that was carrying on the Ripple case, that was carrying on the Coinbase case in the SEC, who was doing it in, essentially following orders from Gary Gensler. And obviously Gary Gensler resigned, which means it wasn't just Gary Gensler that was a bit, of a nut job inside the SEC. There were also other people in play in the SEC. And the majority of them got fired and sacked, pretty much. Some of them got moved to much more worse positions in the SEC, because you can't just fire people if you don't have a genuine reason, because they will try to sue you back. I'm guessing the people that they fired, they had genuine reasons to fire them. But this one, I'm guessing they couldn't find a genuine reason to fire him, but instead they gave him a worse position in the company. And this man is the man that continued the Ripple case and the SEC, the Ripple case and the Coinbase case. And they've just given him one of the worst positions pretty much in the company. So George, who has been with the SEC for 11 years, played a leading role in high-profile enforcement actions against major crypto firms like Ripple and Coinbase. He served in the SEC's crypto enforcement division from October 2022 until November 2024, according to his LinkedIn profile. The reassessment comes in reports that the SEC is downsizing its crypto enforcement unit, reassessing lawyers and staff to other divisions, essentially moving everybody about. The move was one of the first concrete steps taken by President Donald Trump's administration to roll back regulatory scrutiny, essentially that's been coming from the SEC on digital assets. Some members of the SEC's crypto enforcement team are now being moved to other departments, while at least one senior lawyer has already been moved completely from the enforcement division, which was George. The SEC has not provided a comment on the changes that's happening inside the SEC. And following Gary Gensler's departure as the SEC chair, Trump appointed Republican SEC Commissioner Mark as the acting chairman of the SEC. In January 20th, 2025, Mark quickly moved to shift the agency's approach and announcing the creation of the Crypto Task Force led by Republican SEC Commissioner Hester Pierce to clarify which digital assets qualify as securities and to streamline the crypto registration process at a much more faster rate. In a position, essentially a paper published, Hester Pierce described the past SEC policies as legally vague and impractical for businesses operating in the industry. She stated that the task force will create a much more clearer regulations that allow innovations while essentially preventing fraudulent activities. And on January 23rd, essentially, the SEC also retracted SAB 121 Act, a controversial accounting rule that required crypto custodians and firms to record essentially customer funds as liabilities on their balance sheets. That said, the impact of the reduced enforcement unit on the ongoing SEC cases against Ripple, essentially Coinbase and Binance and other firms remains uncertain. Under Gary Gensler's leadership, the SEC pursued an aggressive enforcement approach against crypto companies, leading to legal battles that are still unresolved. So, under essentially Biden's administration, the SEC hired an extensive amount of lawyers and so many other things. Now, under a Trump administration, the crypto task force that was created overnight to bring positivity to the crypto space, Hester Pierce putting in charge, and acting chairman, essentially Mark, also being ahead of it, announcing today that they just removed the leading, not just a random lawyer inside the SEC, but the leading lawyer in the battle versus SEC versus Ripple, SEC versus Coinbase, SEC versus Binance. They removed the leading lawyer and put him in a IT department. And they got rid of 50 other lawyers from the SEC because they want the SEC to be pro-crypto now. These are all indications that the Ripple case, Coinbase case, Binance case, all the other Kraken case, Crypto.com, Wells Notice, or the other one, essentially Consensus Wells Notice, it's all going to come to an end very, very soon by the looks of it. Because if they're getting rid of their lead lawyer, enforcement lawyer inside the SEC, who was battling Ripple, and they removed him and put him in a very bad, crappy position inside the company, it's an indication that goodbye cases. Because how are you going to, continue this lawsuit if you're getting rid of your lead lawyers? And again, they can't continue this lawsuit either because the SEC has to be pro-crypto now. The SEC has no choice but to be pro-crypto. But also, Mark is pro-crypto. That's the beauty of it. Mark is, the acting chairman of the SEC, is pro-crypto for real. And so is Hester Pierce. She does crypto events. She used to do crypto events when she was under Gary Gensler as well, bring positivity to crypto. Now she's in charge of the crypto task force in the SEC. But anyways, the SEC just removed their lead, not just a random lawyer, but their lead enforcement lawyer that was going up against Ripple. They removed him and gave him an IT job inside the SEC. If you ever wanted an indication of how close we are to this case being dropped and dismissed and settled, well, there's one, a massive one. Because the guy that was suing Ripple from the SEC has just been removed from his position. Same guy that was suing Coinbase, also removed from his position because it's the same person. So, on that massively positive note, all good things must come to an end, which they have now. If you're watching this for the first time ever, this was the CMF Live. And this was episode 256 of the CMF Live. So this is episode 256 that you're watching right now. Tune into episode 257 tomorrow. And this live is Monday to Friday, 11:25 p.m. UK time. It starts onwards. 11:25 p.m. UK time it starts Monday to Friday. You can tune into this live. You can tune tomorrow for episode 257. The CMF Live stands for Crypto Mouse Family. My name is Miles. I go by the persona of Crypto Mouse. I'm the host of this live. And on this live, I talk about the most recent news that's happening around the world in terms of cryptocurrencies, CBDCs, AI, politics, regulations, vital information for you to know about regarding how the world is transforming into this digital space. So, if you watch this for the first time ever, follow, subscribe. If you watch this on X, retweet, like, comment, share, and follow, and tune in tomorrow for episode 256, essentially for episode 257, where I bring you more recent news that's happening around the world, and we have discussions about it. Also, if you watch us on YouTube, subscribe and put a comment and like as well. I will be seeing everybody tomorrow, same timing as usual. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you are pretty much around the world. Let's go start a conversation, obviously, before we do leave. Ray, thank you so much for the $5 donation on YouTube, but us going straight towards the CMF hedge fund. Absolutely amazing. Thanks so much for the $5 donation, but on YouTube. Miles, is it work? I'll read that on. Let's go, Miles, the CMF. Like, share, and leave a comment. Thank you. Thank God Trump won. I agree. Thank God Trump won. Let's go, Ray. And Ray, thank you so much, brother, for the $5 donation. Absolutely amazing. Wow, great analogy, Miles. That would make perfect sense. Let's go, Stormy. Good night, Miles, and all the CMF. Thank you for the news and great live. Let's go. Night, Miles and CMF. Pablo, see you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. JP, see you about the same time as usual as well. Good night, Miles and CMF. Great news live, and thanks. See you tomorrow. Free forever. See you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Take care, Miles, CMF. Great. See you tomorrow, about the same time as usual as well. Good night, Miles and family. Great live. Many thanks. See you tomorrow. Ian, see you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Stormy, knowledge. Thanks, Miles. Have a great night, Stormy. Let's go. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. Good night, CMF. Mike, night, Miles. Thank you, Mike. See you, brother, tomorrow, same time as usual. Thanks, Miles. Good night, everyone. See you tomorrow. Orphan, see you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Miles, what platform do you recommend using to buy crypto that has an ease of transaction, low fees in buying crypto? I use two of the most popular platforms. Binance is great. It's incredibly cheap on transactions. You can use, so Binance has two versions, Binance Pro and Binance Normal. You can use Binance Normal for much more easier in terms of buying crypto assets, and it's very low on transactions. But if you want a easy use full platform, very easy platform, Uphold is incredibly easy. Coinbase is easy as well, to be fairly honest. Yeah, that's what I would say. Thanks, Miles. Good night, Comatose. See you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Kraken is also easy as well. Erica, good night, Miles. Let's go. See you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Thanks, Miles. Christopher, see you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. I will see everybody tomorrow, same timing as usual. This was episode 256 of the CMF Live. Tune in for episode 257 tomorrow, 11:25 p.m. UK time, or just follow me. If you're watching this on YouTube or on X, just subscribe and follow, and then you get notified, obviously, when I do go live, 11:25 p.m. UK time, Monday to Friday. Tune in for episode 257 tomorrow. Thank you, Miles. Good night, all. Let's go, Lina. I'll see everybody tomorrow, same time as usual. Ray, brother, once again, thank you so much for the $5 donation as well. I'll see everybody tomorrow, same time as usual. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you're around the world. CMF, see you all tomorrow, same time as usual.